Welcome to the BetterPears podcast. Join Dr. Jason Fugikawa for his insights on theology, philosophy, culture, and the verbal expressions we use to relate meaning and reality to one another. Make no mistake, this is a podcast for nerds, but particular nerds who are searching for old wisdom made ever new. To learn more about the BetterPears cultural empire, please visit betterpears.com. Welcome back to another season of the BetterPears podcast. As we announced in December, there are a number of new initiatives happening at BetterPears, including further development of the BetterPears market, your home for BetterPears branded apparel and drinkware. The podcast has also been establishing its presence on Rumble and YouTube, although new episodes of the podcast will continue to premiere on exclusively audio platforms and the website, where you can continue to read along at betterpears.com/preserves. And now, on with the episode. Season 2, Episode 2, Interest. Interest is a Latin compound word composed of the preposition inter, meaning between, and est, the third-person plural present active indicative of the verb to be. Inter est is literally, it is between, and more colloquially, there is between. The problem for us is that a presumed differentium, or difference, is missing, as in, there is a difference between A and B. This difference may be in substance or accidents, such as with respect to quality or quantity. With respect to quantity, one might recall the formula for calculating simple interest, that is, the principal amount P multiplied by the interest rate R and the time of accrual T, equals the simple interest I, or P times R times T equals I. The interest I was the balance due B less the principal amount P, or I equals B minus P. Our concerns at present for this more literal use of interest are whether the interest calculated in this way is really a thing or an abstracted reality, and in addition, what the source of the interest is with respect to reality or abstraction. In the first case, it seems important to determine whether interest is real, that is, a real thing. In one example that brackets for the moment the use of money or currency, a farmer requires more seeds to plant his crops than he has available. He seeks the loan of additional seeds from a seed merchant, which form the principal amount of his loan. After the harvest, he is able to repay the principal amount of seeds and the additional interest both from his harvest. The wealth generated is a real substance, that is, seeds. Furthermore, the source of this wealth as interest is God's providential care for the crop and the farmer's labor, his agricultural participation in God's creation. Now let us add money into this situation in the form of gold. The farmer's real need is still seeds, and so he may seek out gold through a debt obligation to a lender, such as a bank or other unsavory institution, instead of the seed merchant directly. Returning to the seed merchant, the farmer exchanges the gold for the seeds. Notably here, the gold has become the medium of exchange and the unit of measure for the interest after the harvest. Indeed, after the harvest, the farmer sells his seeds to the merchant in exchange for gold, with which to pay back the principal and the interest. Now the interest is measured in gold, which is still a real thing, and its source is still traceable either by exchange to the abundance of the crop as above, or directly through God's creation of gold within the earth's crust and the labor to mine and refine it. A problem ensues, however, when this generation of wealth through interest is detached from what is real. Our modern fiat currencies since President Nixon in 1971 are no longer backed by real commodities such as gold or silver, but by the full faith and confidence in the U.S. government. This is true for the currencies of most countries who have pegged their currencies to the U.S. dollar since that time. In the last 3 years, we have seen a steady and consistent movement of other sovereign states away from using the U.S. dollar as the medium of exchange and the means of accounting in their international transactions. The motivation behind this trend is that the U.S. dollar is no longer properly money. pull out a dollar bill and read at the top, Federal Reserve Note. It is a promissory note backed by nothing as collateral. It is a debt abstracted from reality, pooled into existence as an obligation in our future. I realize that this is a very complicated topic, and also that this is a primarily audio platform, and so the fundamental seed crystal that I offer to you is this. If the interest generated from an abstraction such as $1 brings into existence more abstracted debt, for example, 5 extra cents, there will never be enough currency to pay off every debt. Whereas the generosity of God and the labor of the farmer produced more seeds in the real world, the generation of abstracted interest in the financialized world today outpaces what can be generated in reality. So far, this outpacing has been met with the abstraction of even more debt and interest, but reality, and reality's God, will soon be vindicated. I do not claim to think that those who put this system of subterfuge into place will be met with justice in this life, but rather that full faith and confidence will be restored to its proper object and king. Even still, this analysis of interest understood literally is not my principal interest in this episode, but rather the figurative use of the term. Just as the now banal sincere, derived from sine cera, or without wax, described literally the absence of wax to fill imperfections on imported statues for the ancient Romans, inter est, through the English interesting, has come to describe, but not truly describe, things, ideas, and people in modern parlance. True, certain iterations of American pronunciation verge on interesting, as if some alternative title for the retelling of Rapunzel. Interesting, nevertheless, has become a filler expression for something that merely catches the attention, triggers an inferiority complex, or fails to undo a speaker's apathy. In this season of new beginnings, I suggest being more reflective on our use of the term interesting. If a thing is interesting, let it be so because it is discernibly different in some kind or degree from the rest. If an idea is interesting, let it be so because it changes what you thought or how you think. If a person is interesting, let it be because that person changes you by his or her excellence or tenacity in the face of adversity. It is my hope that BetterPears always remains interesting. A comparative better presumes a difference, both in quality and its effect. The views expressed by BetterPears contributors are theirs alone, and do not necessarily reflect the views of BetterPears, its parent company, or any company or organization affiliated with the contributors. For more information, to support BetterPears, or to shop for BetterPears merchandise, please visit betterpears.com.